For years, Chip and Joanna Gaines seemed untouchable. The warm smiles, the beautiful homes, the growing empire, everything pointed to a couple living exactly the life they'd built together. But somewhere behind those perfectly framed television moments, something was quietly breaking down. And when the truth finally surfaced, it didn't just move fans. It changed everything. It started with silence. Chip Gaines, the man who was always the loudest person in any room, suddenly went quiet. Magnolia was expanding faster than ever. New projects kept launching. From the outside, nothing looked wrong. But fans who had followed the couple for years began noticing something they couldn't quite explain. Chip wasn't showing up the way he used to. Interviews became rare. Social media felt distant. The chaotic, joke-cracking energy that defined him on Fixer Upper had simply vanished. But here's where it gets strange. Nobody knew why. Behind closed doors in Waco, Joanna was privately fighting through physical pain that had been building for months. At first, she treated it like ordinary exhaustion, the kind that comes with filming renovations, raising 5 children, and running a business that never really slows down. She kept smiling through public appearances. She kept showing up. But the pain was getting worse, and Chip had already noticed. He saw the fatigue in her face, the hesitation in her movements, the moments when she was clearly struggling but refused to let anyone else see it. What they found next, nobody expected. Doctors confirmed that Joanna was dealing with a severe spinal condition caused by years of relentless physical strain. Surgery wasn't optional anymore. For a family that had built its entire reputation around fixing broken things, this was a crisis that couldn't be solved with hard work or determination. And for Chip, the man who always had a plan, that realization hit differently than anything fame had ever thrown at him. He stepped back from almost everything. Meetings were quietly delayed. Public appearances disappeared. Production schedules shifted behind the scenes without explanation. Friends close to the family describe him as emotionally drained, almost unrecognizable compared to the version of himself that millions had watched on television for years. Instead of expanding Magnolia, he stayed close to Joanna. He refused to leave her side for long periods while she slowly recovered. The man once celebrated for fixing broken houses was now focused entirely on holding his family together. And that's when the public started paying closer attention. When Chip finally reappeared, something in him looked different. Longer pauses. Tired eyes. A heaviness that cameras couldn't ignore. Fans flooded social media with concern, comparing old footage to what they were seeing now. Some thought the pressure of fame had finally caught up with him. Others sensed something far more personal was written across his face. The answer will surprise you, because it wasn't collapse. It was transformation. Behind the polished Magnolia image, the couple had quietly been carrying an impossible weight for years. 5 children. A television network. Retail partnerships. Constant public attention. Every new project demanded more time, more energy, and more sacrifice. Yet every morning, they showed up and smiled for the cameras. What fans almost never saw were the moments when exhaustion replaced confidence, when fear crept into a household that was supposed to represent stability for everyone watching. Joanna's recovery forced both of them to stop pretending. She could no longer push herself at the pace she had maintained for years. Chip could no longer fill every difficult moment with humor and forward momentum. Together, they faced something that no renovation timeline and no television contract could prepare anyone for: the terrifying stillness of waiting to see if the person you love is going to be okay. Then, just as Joanna began recovering physically, a new wave of pressure arrived from outside. A controversy surrounding Magnolia programming sparked national debate, placing the couple at the center of a conversation about faith, values, and compassion. Critics pushed hard. The backlash spread quickly. But instead of retreating, Chip publicly defended empathy and understanding, a response that surprised many who had followed him for years. Something in his perspective had clearly shifted, and the people closest to the family seemed to understand exactly why. By 2025, the version of Chip and Joanna Gaines that emerged looked genuinely different from the couple who had first walked onto television screens years earlier. The endless ambition had quieted. The obsession with expansion had softened. In its place, something more intentional had taken root. Quiet evenings at home. Family dinners. Small routines that existed purely for the sake of being together rather than building something. Dance lessons and shared workouts that weren't content for anyone's camera. Just 2 people slowly finding their way back to each other after everything they had survived. Joanna spoke openly about how difficult it had been to balance marriage, recovery, and the emotional weight of watching her older children prepare to leave home. Chip, meanwhile, talked less about business and more about gratitude. Those who knew them said the fear of nearly losing Joanna had permanently reshaped what he considered worth protecting. And the answer he kept coming back to had nothing to do with Magnolia, television ratings, or brand partnerships. It was the people waiting for him at home. That realization, simple, quiet, and hard one, became the foundation beneath every decision they made after the crisis passed. Fame could disappear. Business empires could collapse. But the family they had built together, and nearly lost sight of in the rush to grow something bigger, turned out to be the only thing that truly mattered all along.